Hello my beautiful people, welcome to your weekly general tarot scope with me, Raphael from Reydiant Reality. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me. Quick note, these readings are for everybody. They are a general overview of the energies, trends and themes that we're all going to be experiencing over the course of the week. Sometimes world events come up, sometimes it's literally just about us and how we can navigate the week ahead in a general sense. With that said, thank you so much for being here. Before we start, as always, I would like to bless my deck of cards with all forms of love, light, peace, prosperity and abundance, and I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise and they help us on our path to our highest vibrational good. So for the intuitive message this week, really interesting, it's inaction breeds power through choice, right? So in my mind, when I went into my intuition, the first thing that I could see actually today, I got this beautiful sort of white golden light that had all these flecks of purple and pink sort of flowing off of it. It was wonderful and it was just sort of soothing me and healing me. It was beautiful. But then when I started to look at this, what I saw in my mind was a bull, like, you know, big sort of, you know, the horns, and it had like one of those rings in its nose, and it looked very powerful, but it also looked very docile. And then I saw, you know, I think they call them the matadors, you know, like in the ring with they've got like the thing that they wave, so the bull went from eating, just, you know, being docile and chilled and eating, and it was in the ring and this, you know, it was waving around this thing and quite frankly looked ridiculous. Sorry to say, no disrespect to any cultural references or anything like that, but it was just really, really interesting because the bull, rather than chasing this, just kind of looked like that and just sat down and was like, no, I'm not doing this. I know how these things go and I'm not interested in it. And what I took away from that was that our power, sometimes it's the choice that we make not to do something, the choice that we make to hold ourselves back, to practice what the Hanged Man tries to teach us, right? That sometimes doing nothing really is the best way to do something. Sometimes that is the most powerful action that we can take is inaction, right? And I found this really, really interesting. And that message, inaction breeds power. The bull then was in complete control of this situation. I know how these things go. You know, maybe wasn't thinking that, but it was like, no, I know how these things go. I'm going to sit here, and if I don't move, what are you going to do? There's nothing that you can do to me to get me to do this, to get me to run around prancing after this thing that you're waving at me so you can eventually take me out. If there is a situation like that in your life at the moment that you feel where someone is trying to goad you or push you into a certain experience, your power lies in not interacting with that. And this isn't about turning the other cheek or being self-sacrificing or anything like that. It's about being an active participant in your own life, to choose not to act, to choose not to act. There's a very, very big difference between that and just like, oh, you know, do what you want, right? And then the other part of this is through choice. Inaction breeds power through choice. So it's your choice. You make the decision not to act, not to be goaded, not to rise to something that quite frankly is even no good for you, or maybe even just has nothing to do with you. All right, just something to think about. So this week there will be no new moon message, and you will see why very soon. All right, so for our destiny card, I'm using the Human Design Oracle deck by Denise Matthew. I will put a link in the description box below so that you can head over to her channel and website and check out these wonderful cards. And we've got the Gate 37 and Sweetness. And I love this. And interestingly enough, this isn't just about the sweetness of life. It's also about understanding how fleeting things truly are. So the destiny card for us this week is to remind us that everything in life is transitory. Everything that we experience, no matter how good it is, even, you know, what we see as solid, nothing is permanent, nothing is forever, right? Everything has its cycle, it has its season. So the destiny for all of us this week, I believe, is for us to be present in the moment. That way you can really choose to act because you are present and you're making a choice rather than allowing things to happen to you. You're choosing to interact with them or not, as the case may be, right? This destiny card with sweetness, the other part of this as well, it reminds us to really look at where the sweet spots are in our connections, whether this is friends, whether it's loved ones, family members, partners, people that we just feel, my uncle in Greece, when I was about 15, explained all of the different types of love to me. And the one that really stood out to me for some reason, and I think this is probably because of my personal nature, the one that really stood out to me was pathos. And he said, you feel this if you see somebody else hurt, if you see somebody else happy and you're happy for them, if you want to give comfort or nourish or nurture somebody, that's when you feel pathos for somebody. And even now I've got goosebumps thinking about it, because I remember him teaching me that lesson, and it stuck with me. I'm 36 now, so it's a long time that lesson's been with me, and it really stuck. And this feels like that to me. This is a week where reaching out to your people just because you can, checking in with people just because you love them, giving a kind word, giving a smile, like all of those things, find it within yourself this week to nurture and nourish all of the connections that you have, whether they are strong connections, whether they're so-so connections, whatever they are. Doesn't matter what you get out of it, it matters what you put into it this week, and this is really, really important. So the Destiny card this week is asking us to be aware that everything is a cycle and a season, and also to really strengthen and pay attention to our interpersonal ties and connections. I think they're going to be really important this week. Not least because if you've been with me long enough, I will have been talking about autumn from September onwards for a long time now. And this, for me, and I don't say this in like a fear-mongering way, we're in the end game now, right? Whatever the whole of 2020 set into motion, whatever has been set into motion this year, all of these things, now that we're in September, now that we're coming up to the autumn of 2021, we're in the end game. This is where we're really going to see what all the results, all of the fallouts, this is where I think there's going to be a few big wake-up calls for all of us in some way, shape or form. I do not for a second think that we are done with some of the shocking surprises that may yet come. Anyway, I'm getting off the tangent now. For our direction cards, we've got the Hermit. Mixed in with that sweetness card, check in with your elderly this week. Check in with your wise ones, your wizards, your elders, your grandparents, your actual parents, whatever you want to call them. I have someone that I call my magical mama. We don't share blood, but we share a bond in spirit, and I love her deeply as if she were my family. I have other people that are part of my tribe that I love just as dearly as I love people, that I share blood with. So specifically those of them that are elders this week, whether this is, like I said, grandparents, your wise ones, your elders, your go-to people that are older and wiser, or as I like to say, seasoned, check in with them this week, right? Really, this would be a good week to do so. We got the Strength card. Now here's the reason I gave that look. In this deck, she's called the Crone. And the Crone represents, right, the elders. Now look at this. In this specific deck, the Hermit is called the Holly King. Look at him, right? And the Hermit has lots of elements of wisdom to it anyway, which is why I said check in with your elderly. Then we've got the Crone, right? So that's like these, let's see, these are the grandmother and the grandfather, or people that represent those kinds of archetypes in your life. Very, very important. What do we also see in these cards? We've got the 8, which is strength. We've also got the 9, which is the Hermit. When you get a run or a sequence of numbers, for those of you that are spiritually inclined and or gifted, you may have messages from the other side this week, right? Talking about sweetness, that I got that goosebumps shiver again. One of my ancestors, who's been gone now probably about 8-9 years, I believe, only ever comes when times are good. It's really like the strangest thing. And it's like when we're laughing, when we're happy, when good things are happening, she'll pop in and it's like I'll hear her laughing, but I'll smell a smell that just really reminds me of her. It's just, I've got so many of these weird and wonderful stories. And I'm sure when I tell them, some people are like, this guy is a whack job. And that for me, so like I said, for those of you that are spiritually inclined, for those of you that know your people on the other side visit you from time to time, this week you may have a message. Pay attention to your dreams, your feelings, moments where their name pops up in conversation, or you see somebody that really resembles them, excuse me, all of those kinds of things that happen this week, you really want to pay attention to. And for those that are still on this plane of existence with us, check in with your elderly. Look out for them, look after them, be of service and be available to them. And then finally, we have the Queen of Wands. All right, so a Leo person, likely to be a Leo woman, could feature very heavily for all of us in some way, shape or form, or a regal figure may feature for all of us in some way, shape or form. This, in fact, when I see these, I do wonder if we're going to be hearing more about the royal family in some way, shape or form that might come up. On a more personal level, there is this sense actually that this week there's an acknowledgement of time passing this week. And I think as a direction, the way that we can best tap into this sweetness energy, well, with the Hermit, it would literally be about taking stock of the journey you've been on so far. With the Strength card, it would be making a note and a point that you don't have forever. So whatever you need to say, whatever you need to get off your chest, whatever you need to be, to look at, to apologize for, to get an apology for, all of that stuff. This week, start making plans to get this stuff wrapped up and sewn up. And then with the Queen of Wands there, aside from all of her other meanings, she's deeply attached to the mysteries. This week, I think there's going to be a lot of spiritual energy floating about, and I think those people that are intuitive and or sensitive to it will definitely be feeling this stuff, I think, more than they have in a while. So if you get to those points and, certain things start to happen, you're not losing it. You're just getting more fine-tuned in a lot of ways, and maybe you're getting more information than you usually do through those spiritual senses. For our insight cards, what may be going on behind the scenes. Also, another way that this could play out on the wider world stage, there may be something that is enforced around the elderly and or, our elders in some way, shape or form. There might be some new research that comes out. There may be there's new laws passed every day, but do you know what I mean? Like there might be talk of some sort of legislation, etc. And the interesting thing is as well, like everybody sees older people as fragile and, they're all of that. But make no mistake, our elders built the fucking world that we live in, right? We do not give them enough credit. So very often all right, they maybe, they're not doing backflips anymore, but don't discount the strength that they have on those inner planes for ever. Insight cards, 3 of Pentacles, right? So this could be a week, because it's right underneath that sweet, and I've been feeling this for a while. I really have. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if some people get familial revelations this week. Like some big secret comes out that, I don't know, my kids actually had different fathers. Your granddad had a male lover. Do you know, like, I'm just giving ridiculous examples now, but like this week, it would not surprise me if there are some familial ripples that kind of go out through the family. Then we've got the 2 of Wands. This is lovely, right? As an insight, that's good for money, but it's also good for money that comes through learning. So it's like, for those of you that are hoping for job interviews and stuff, connect to your network. It's going to be the people that you know that are going to help you this week. It's going to be the connections that you have with people in your circle that are going to help you find that job or find that next paycheck, etc. And then we've got the 7 of Swords, right? So 2 things. I think we're going to hear on the wider world stage, certainly here in the UK, I think we're going to see something going on with the fees around education. I think that's going to be quite an interesting conversation. And also, because it's the Seven of Swords with the Two of Wands, this is something to do with travel. And with that Three of Pentacles, this could literally be something that is either put in place as a preliminary, but it's not going to stick. That's the feeling that I get from this. Whatever it is that is enforced or put into practice this week will be temporary, and it will probably come to an end as we get into, I would say, between the 2nd and 3rd of Jan till about the 18th of Jan. Whatever goes in on travel this week will end in that period of 2022. All right, so that is your weekly general in a nutshell. I truly hope that it helps you or that it speaks to you in some way, shape or form. I know this is a long video and there was a lot of tangents and stuff, but I truly hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that it helps you in some way. I wish you all an abundance of all of that good stuff. Take care, and I will see you soon.